One of the best things about D&D is arguably leveling up and watching a big damage number get even bigger as you go from a lowly adventurer to a godlike hero who can defeat almost any foe that you encounter. But what if you could defeat any monster in D&D by yourself? Today we are talking about an absolutely ridiculous build in D&D that can do over 1,000 damage in a single turn with no magical items and no team members. So prepare to buy a mountain's worth of damage die and let's get rolling. Surprisingly, this build is actually pretty straightforward, only requiring one round of preparation before your first and more than likely final attack. Naturally, we're going to be going over this build at level 20, but don't worry, it is still an absolute beast at lower levels, so give it a try. For those of you that just want to see what the build actually is, here you go. But for those of you that want to see the full build, the abilities that you get alongside them, and how you can maximize your damage by using them in the proper order, stick around because here we go. First things first, for the race, we're going to choose Half Orc for the Savage Attacks ability, which allows you to gain an additional weapon's worth of damage die every single time you deal a critical attack. And keep that in mind because this is going to be very important. Now for your levels, take 4 levels in Divine Soul Sorcerer. Some of these are good for just roleplay or overall utility, but the one that is the most important that we really want to pay attention to is this Shadow Blade spell. Next, take 1 level in War Domain Cleric for War Priest, which allows you to make 1 weapon attack as a bonus action. To no one's surprise, this build has some levels in Rogue because that class has absolutely crazy damage output. So take 3 levels in Assassin Rogue for the Assassinate ability, granting advantage on all attack rolls as well as auto crit damage on all hits. And with these levels in Rogue, you also gain a 2d6 sneak attack with finesse weapons, which the Shadow Blade happens to be. You might begin to see where this is going. Now it's time to add Insult to Injury with 3 levels in Battle Master Fighter, giving us Action Surge, which allows us to take 1 additional action per turn. Okay, almost there. Next, take 2 levels of Paladin. Most important of all the abilities that you're going to get with these is Divine Smite for the radiant damage, which stacks on every single hit, and believe me, it's going to be a lot of hits. Nearing the end now, take 2 levels of Divination Wizard for Portent, and Portent is just going to be important to make sure that when you attack, you actually hit. And finally, 5 levels in Gloomstalker Ranger, which gives you the Dread Ambusher, giving you an extra attack on every attack action that you make in your first round, and also an extra 1d8 damage for the weapon type that you're using in that extra attack. And now you have all the feats, abilities, and spells that you're going to be requiring in order to do this absolutely colossal amount of damage in a single round of combat. The whole point of this build is to be very stealthy and sneak up on an unsuspecting victim and wipe them out before they even know what hit them. For that reason, we are going to assume that you have at least 1 round of preparation before you unleash your wrath on this unsuspecting foe. And it's pretty simple. All you're going to do is cast at level 5 that Shadow Blade spell that we talked about earlier. Now it's time to actually take your opponent by surprise and attack them, and make sure to use Portent to ensure that your attack hits. With Portent nearly guaranteeing that your first attack hits, the Assassination feat now triggers, and you gain on your first attack action 2 attacks from being a ranger and 1 attack from your Dread Ambusher feat, then a bonus action for 1 attack from War Priest, and using Action Surge, you get another attack action for another 2 attacks from Ranger and 1 attack again from Dread Ambusher, giving a grand total of 7 attacks in a single turn, with each attack dealing 9d8 plus 7 psychic damage from the Shadow Blade, which comes up to 63d8 plus 49 psychic damage. But add on the Gloomstalker Ranger ability to add 1d8 damage to the extra attack of every attack action in the first round, which with this we now boosted all the way up to 67d8 plus 49 psychic damage. Don't forget sneak attack though, which turns that into an additional 46 damage. And our Paladin levels with Divine Smite grant us 64d8 extra radiant damage for all those attacks that we made. All of this totaling to an average of 585 damage in a single turn, or a maximum, not including resistances, of 1,170 damage. That means that you can one-shot nearly any creature in all of D&D. So have fun eviscerating your enemies into nothing more than a fine red mist as you absolutely obliterate them in a single round of combat. If you enjoyed this video, consider sharing some of that massive damage on the like button, as well as subscribing if you're not already. Until next time, keep questing.